We are going to get started in just a couple minutes. I'm just giving people a chance to log on. We're still like a minute or so early. So if you are waiting, you're in the right place if you're here for the high performance webinar. And we're just going to get started in a couple minutes. And if you're here, do me a favor, take a selfie with your computer in the background if you can, if you're not driving or something, and post it with your ahas after this webinar. I plan to do more of these so long as people keep showing up and find them valuable. So I want to get the word out as much as possible. There's a lot of agents right now that I know that are struggling either with, inconsistent income, or they have income, but they still don't have, peace, and they are maybe on the verge of burnout uh, or a breakdown of some sort. And so I want to help provide some structure and clarity as we're building our businesses so that we don't get to that point. Let's try to avoid burnout. If you've ever struggled with burnout before, it's not fun. I have. And it took me a season of kind of slowing down and rebuilding to get back to the point where I love what I did again. And so I think that when there's tough markets, it's easy to fall out of love with what we do. So I hope by the end of this webinar, you feel seen and understood. And I hope you feel like there's some hope, and that you could see yourself falling back in love with real estate again. Because this is such an amazing industry, and there's so much opportunity for us to make an impact in people's lives, in our own lives, in the lives of our family members and our communities. And so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jacqueline Smith. I am in the Southwest Washington, Portland metro market. I lead an amazing team here, Evergreen Real Estate Partners, and we did last year about 130 million in volume. I have coached team owners and agents across the country in all sorts of different markets and niches. And I think a lot of what I'm going to cover today has come out of those conversations. It's come out of me. I get reached out to all the time with questions and pain points. And there's a common pattern or thread that I see amongst people who are high performers. We're going to talk about what high performance is today and go through and kind of lay the groundwork and the foundation for what I hope will be future conversations as well, where we'll be able to go deeper into more of the things that need more attention, like the things like leverage, how, when, what, right? Things like the building out systems for various aspects of the business. What does that even mean, right? I was talking to an agent at an event a couple months ago, and she's like, everyone says we need systems. I don't even know what they mean by that. So we'll go deeper in future webinars, but this is going to be the foundation for all of those conversations. So let's jump in. And if you have questions, I really want to hear from you. So please reach out to me. You can find me on social media. If you follow me, I'm kind of always on there. I love connecting with people on social media. But you can also email me. I'm happy to hop on a call one-on-one with you. And I really am doing this to help people, because this business has completely changed my life, changed my family's life, and I've seen it change so many people's lives. And I get sad when people stay smaller than they need to, or when I see them just get out because they fall out of love with it. So I guess this is kind of like a rescue mission, and a mission to help people reach their potential and not squander it or stay small out of pain. This quote has been something I saw it years ago. It was actually in a foreword of a book that Ben Kinney wrote, not the book, he was writing the foreword. And this quote is from that. And some of us that are in his world, we've heard variations of this, but essentially, the difference between what I see as high performance and not is it really comes down to people that are implementing models and systems for their business, and those that don't. Those that don't, they're kind of like, and you might be one of them, many of you on this, where you almost feel like you're living your first or second year over and over again. And that is not fun. And so we're going to talk about the importance of models and systems today. And I think it's really important to know that I'm not here to talk about, like, I'm sorry if you're here for this, but I'm not going to be talking about like how to get more leads today. I'm not going to be talking about, working harder. Yesterday I made a post, you've seen those posts that say, I don't care, work harder. That probably at one point in my career was my mantra. I would have like bought that t-shirt, put it on the wall. And I think at this point in my career, I see the danger in that. And there's a season for that. There's a season where, yes, you need to work hard. You need to work harder. There's some people I see out there, and they do. They might think about work a lot, but they're not actually doing the work a lot. But there comes a point in our business where we should be able to graduate from the hustle, graduate from the intensity, and our business should mature, and we should have some relief from that hustle, right? That you do need when you're getting a business going. It's just there's no way around it. But once you have your business going, you've got to at some point graduate from that. I didn't. And I did suffer from burnout. I did have things that were, unhealthy in my life as a result of that. And I do see so many people that get divorced. Their health is struggling. Their relationship with their kids is, non-existent or struggling. And that is really, really sad to me, because most people that I know that get into real estate, they get into real estate because they want, that flexibility to be present with their family. They want, like, I remember when I worked for the government in Canada, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to go to like a 9 a.m. Pilates class one day. Like that just feels so scandalous to me, like, or a yoga class, And at some point, you've got to graduate from always being on and in constant hustle mode, or you will burn out. So what the heck is high performance? A lot of people reached out to me asking questions like, I don't know what this is. Is this something that you're selling? Like, is this a program that you're selling? Do I have to join Place to be, go to this webinar? Or are you going to be selling something on this webinar, like where I have to join Place or like change my brokerages? No, no, no. This is nothing that I'm selling. I've got nothing for you. Okay. What high performance is, it's just a concept. Some of you follow Brendon Burchard. So he has a book called High Performance Habits. And that just got me thinking, as I've been exposed to him and that book repeatedly, in real estate, what would that look like? So to me, what high performance is, it's not an amount of production, because I've had very low production people and they are not in high performance. Definitely. They're stressed out. And I've had high production people that are just as stressed out, and that's not high performance. High performance is when you are your business is repeatable. So many people that I talk to, they might actually have business, but they don't really know. They have maybe a slight idea, but they don't actually know how they're getting their results. Well, if you don't have any way of knowing how to repeat something, imagine the pressure. Because I lived this after my first year. I was like, oh my gosh, everyone was excited for the new year. And I wasn't, because I had sold, my first year, I did sell 52 homes. Fortunately enough, I did know how I did it. But so many people go into this and they're like, I have no idea. I just kind of got lucky, especially if you got into the business 2020, 2021, even 2019. Like, you probably got lucky from the market handing you a gift. And now you're in this market, and it's kind of exposing. I heard this morning on one of our calls, like, it's exposing underperformance or non-performance in some cases, right? And so if you don't have a repeatable and predictable business, it's not yet in high performance mode. It should be structured, sustainable. When you are in constant like intensity, that is not sustainable, and that's where burnout can come in. Calm under pressure. High performance is not like rah rah, go 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 constantly. It's actually calm. It's a different energy. High performance is not hustle or grit. It's not like white knuckling your way, high production at all costs, like the quote I said earlier, like no one cares, work harder. It's not doing everything yourself, and it's not intense. It's not making up for a lack of model system, a lack of consistency with intensity. It's not that. And I think that's what a lot of people think, high performance, like that's intense, like we're going hard. And that's not what it is. It's not constantly reacting to everything around you. People ask me all the time, like, how do you do? I just saw someone yesterday in an event. She's like, how do you do it? Like, you must be working all the time. No, I'm actually not working all the time. I have built systems. I have installed leverage in both my personal life and my work life that has allowed me to run a business at a high level without needing constant input, or increase in input and constant reaction to things. So we're going to talk about this, and you might find like, gosh, I don't have repeatable, predictable, structured, sustainable. It's not calm. It's the opposite of calm. And I want to help you learn the missing pieces and where you can get some of that, because that is what a healthy business looks like and feels like. So let's talk about the real pain. I think that the real pain comes when you actually have business and technically things like are working. Like it says here, people think you're doing great, but internally you're living in a constant low grade anxiety. Let that sit, because if you feel a constant low grade anxiety, that is a recipe for something is going to break if it's not already in your life. Like, it's going to be, you're going to turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms. Like, if wine is your stress relief mechanism, you're probably living in low grade anxiety. If don't correct something, it's going to catch up to you if it hasn't already. And maybe that's part of why you're here, because it already has. And if you're new to the business and you're here, I hope this webinar will help you build the right way, and maybe learn from some of the mistakes from people that have gone before you. But, constant anxiety, inconsistent months, effort, and that comes from not knowing, right? Not knowing how to impact your results clearly, not understanding the math that is your business. That makes it so you have to constantly be in hustle mode. And taking time off gives you anxiety, because you know what happens when you do that. When your effort doesn't match your outcome. So you're feeling like you're always on, you're always working, but you're not necessarily getting the results that you feel like you should get from the effort that it's putting in. If you've ever said to yourself, like, I just don't think this is worth it, this is the one for you. Your calendar is constantly full, but again, those results, it's not because you have 10 pendings, right? It's because you're in that low grade anxiety constantly. And so even when you're not working, you're thinking about working. Your phone is always, on. You get anxiety when it goes off because clients are unhappy. There's always something going wrong. Um, you're always on and you never feel ahead. This is the pain that I see too many real estate agents living in. And I think that most people have decided that that is what real estate feels like. And so the only way to mitigate that is to just do a comfortable amount of business and not strive for anything more than that. And we stay small when we actually could have the ability to greatly impact our financial position and the lives of so many people if we could find a way and believe it's possible that there could be a way to do this business and not feel like that. So why doesn't chaos go away? Maybe you've even tried this. Like, I'll just sell more houses. That doesn't work, right? All that happens is you literally take all the stuff you're feeling now, the anxiety, the uncertainty, the chaos, and you do more of it, and you end up with more of all that stuff that you don't want. You end up with more pain. You end up with more problems, more calls at all hours of the night during your kids' games, right? You can't get a break. And there's nothing that will fix this. Like, experience doesn't fix it. Working harder, like I said, doing more, it does not fix it. It's only design that will fix this. It's designing your business in a specific way so that you don't have to live in chaos and just accept that that is part of being in this business. It does not have to be. There's many people that have been wildly successful with their production. And I even remember it was maybe like right after my first year, I had sold 52 homes, and I was listening to this podcast interview with someone that had had a great year. And she actually was sharing that she sold 87 houses the year before. And I started for a split second, kind of comparing myself like, oh, I thought 52 was great. And then I heard her with her 87 and started to compare. And what I realized as I continued to listen and they dove into things more deeply, this wasn't the focus of the conversation, but I heard it. It slipped in there that she had actually been going through a divorce. And I thought to myself, ugh, does more mean that, I'm going to end up divorced because my goal for that next year was 100 units? And I remember kind of making this pledge or commitment with myself in that moment that I would never end up divorced because of my business, and that I would figure out a way to build my business so that I could have a healthy marriage and a healthy business. And I didn't subscribe to this idea that I had to pick. And if I had to pick, like many of you, you're making the right choice. Like, I'm sorry, but choose your marriage, choose your health. I just don't believe that we have to choose between the two. So why do we end up feeling like we have to choose between the two? This is the answer. It's the difference between growth and scale. So growth is, okay, I've got to add more to get more. My results increase in proportion to the effort, the time, the resources that I invest in my business, right? And it depends on you showing up harder. That's why at so many business planning days, I have one camp of people, they're all excited, they're going to hit these big goals. And then I have this other camp that's like, no, I'm good. Like, I've actually been there and I'm good here, because I know what that costs me. And I'm just not willing to pay the price. And you know what? I respect that. I just think that you're also subscribing to that notion that that is the only way to do it, is by showing up harder, by putting in more time. If I sold 20 houses and I want to sell 40, I've got to put in twice the amount of time that I put in to sell 20. And I don't have twice the amount of time, so I'm going to be good with 20. And that's not how it works when you are focused on scaling. In fact, I would venture to guess that when I sold 52 houses because of the way that I did it, I was probably less stressed out than some people who were selling 15. And then as I scaled, right, I was probably less stressed out at 88 or whatever I did. It was 80. No, I did 87 my second year and then 137 the third year. And I bet you I was less stressed than some people that were selling 15 or 20. Producing more does not have to come with an increase in effort. It actually comes with an increase in self-regulation and an increase in restraint because you cannot build your business just responding to everything that's coming at you and scale without putting in more time. So scale depends on how you're operating, how the business is built, and then how you're operating within it. Are you showing up as the CEO of your business, or are you showing up as the gal that is serving? I hate to make this comparison, but like you're serving at a busy diner and you're just responding to everyone's needs and you don't have any system or structure. And you're just trying to be everything for everyone and be everywhere when they need you. You're at their beck and call, which is a horrible way to feel. And you cannot fathom more of what you're already experiencing. That means that you've maybe experienced growth before, you've never experienced scale. And this is why burnout happens. Burnout doesn't actually come from work, like working hard. It comes from pressure. And pressure isn't always negative. But when you have, and there's times you might have a little anxiety. I'm talking about seasons, years of constant pressure, constant low grade anxiety. It's not like emotional weakness. It's what happens when your growth outpaces the structure of your business and when your business never stabilizes and matures. There's different stages of business. I'm going to do an entire webinar on this alone because it's a whole conversation. You go through the foundation stages, the concentration mode. That is the hustle. That is like the putting in the work mode. Then you go into momentum, and then stabilization, and then mastery. Most businesses actually never get to stabilization phase. And that's a whole conversation why. But when you don't ever graduate into the next stage of your business and you stay in that concentration, bouncing between concentration and momentum, that is a really challenging way to live. It's just not sustainable. So the result is people stay small. And they don't choose to pay the price, which I'm happy for you. I never would advocate like production at all costs. I just, like I keep saying, I get sad when people feel like they have to decide between the two. Okay, so there's 5 root causes of burnout. Number 1 is you're trying to do it all yourself. A few of you, I read every single submission. You know, you guys filled out a form to be on this webinar to get this link. And I read, you know, the pain points. I read some of the things that you're looking to get out of this. And I know that some of you have made hires in the past that did not work out. And you've decided that that meant, you know, you've got to do it all yourself. Or maybe you've never even made the hire because you feel like you have to do it all yourself because you need it to be done a certain way, and we're going to get into this. Number 2 is you're solving the same problems over and over again. Number 3, you haven't defined even what you're trying to achieve. So there's not really a whole lot of meaning in it for you. Like you're setting these goals because, you know, Susie next to you did, or the top producer, you know, that got the awards, like that's what they did. So I'm going to do that. But it doesn't actually even mean anything to you. You don't have models for success. Like, I'm sorry, but winging it is not cool. you get into this business and you want to be in business for yourself and you want to be successful. You want to have this flexibility. But if you look at any successful business outside of real estate, let's go there. They're following models. I mean, restaurants, right? Retail establishments. There's models, and people who are successful, they don't feel like they have to reinvent the wheel, and their ego isn't tied to them having invented it. Um, there's room for creativity on top of proven models. And then number five is you're not making enough money, or you don't understand the money, how you're making it, right? Like we talked about earlier. So we're going to dive into each of these. So number one, so you're trying to do it all yourself, right? You've tried to hire leverage, or you've avoided it because you feel like it's safe. Like my clients, like they don't want to work with anyone else, right? No one can do it better than me. They're not going to get the same experience if I have leverage. That's fine. If you're not there yet, you can do a lot of things in your personal life that will free up a lot of time for you. Like, I hate to break it to you, but your kids don't care who did their laundry, right? They really don't. I don't even know that they necessarily care, maybe except for some of like their favorite, I have my favorite dishes that my mom made me. But other than that, like I didn't really care where the food came from. I just wanted food when I was a teenager, right? So there's leverage personally, and then there's leverage in your business. And then when you get over yourself and get over the control issues, you know that you have a highest and best use of your time. And when you figure that out, it does free you up to hire someone that maybe is better than that at you than at that than you. And I think a lot of us like need to understand the different types of leverage, and that's why I'll do a whole webinar on this, because some of you have hired like an outside TC person. That's fine. That's great. That's what I would call like a band-aid or a temporary solution. When you are following models and creating your own systems in your business, um, you're going to want someone internal. You're going to get more out of that relationship and out of that leverage. You're overpaying for someone to like push your paperwork around with an outside TC. So that's not what we're talking about, though that can help in the meantime. But you've got to realize that there's very few businesses, true businesses, that don't involve other people. And if you are doing it all yourself, you are self-employed. You don't yet have a business. Um, and we'll talk more about leverage in another webinar too. So you're solving the same problems over and over again. So my first year in the business, like I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like doing lead generation in the mornings and servicing my clients in the afternoons and evenings. And at the end of that year, I hired my first assistant. That was my goal. The next thing I did for an entire year, and I think I would not be where I am today in my business had I not done this. I wrote down and documented every time someone would reach out to me with a question, a need, any one of my clients. I'm talking about my clients. And what that allowed me to do was in real time, I was building systems to make my phone ring less, to be more proactive, and to be ahead of my clients. And what that did for me, I still implement these things to this day and teach agents to do this. I don't want my phone to ring on a random Friday night when I'm on a date night. If it's gonna ring, I want it to be a lead, right? I don't want it to be a client that needs something that's on me. So what my goal was is I didn't want my phone to ring unless it was a lead or a referral. And so if I had a question, I wanted to build something in to where I would mitigate that in the future. Maybe it was a conversation I would have at the listing appointment. a script that I would start saying that would make that question unnecessary for the client in the future. One of the things I did was follow up Friday. Every Friday, I would call every client. Yes, that took time, but guess what never really happened for me after that? I didn't really get calls over the weekends. I didn't get calls on my Friday night, right? And so how many of you know how it feels when you're the one calling them to give them an update, to be ahead of their questions, to tell them what's going to come next, to remind them of the next steps? That feels a lot better to me than them calling and they're all stressed out and in a panic. And then you're on the receiving end. I don't like that. If I'm doing my job correctly, I'm ahead of them. So documenting and building playbooks so that you are not solving the same problem over and over again. If your clients are asking you the same questions over and over again, I'm sorry, but that is you, right? That is you not having a system to make sure you're in front of them. And that causes friction and pain for you later. So identifying the recurring pain points and build solutions, not patches. Fix the cause, not the symptom. Still to this day with our staff, like mistakes are going to happen. I never care. What I care about is what are we putting into place, not in your memory. What are you putting in place so this mistake never happens again? I'm okay with a mistake happening one time. When it happens repeatedly, that's a systems problem. That's how you have to approach your business. That's the design that I'm talking about. And it does take time, but it will give you back exponentially your time. It's how you get the compounding effect of your time, right? It's not by jumping around, being in and out of the market. It's by being consistent. It's by solving problems once, not 500 times, right? Number 3 is you haven't designed what you're building. So you've got to get clear on what you want. What life do you want? What in 5 years, like what do you want to be doing? In 3 years, what do you want to be doing? Next week, what do you want to be doing? What do you want to be doing with your time? Can you design a business that will give you that? You have to reverse engineer based on what success means to you. There's lots of people, they're like, I would never want to do what you're doing. You know what? I love what I'm doing. I get so much fulfillment out of this, and I don't get the same fulfillment, only selling real estate. I love selling real estate, but helping people build businesses that change their lives, that hits me like in a different way. So what is it for you? What do you love to do? Is it helping other agents? Is it, and that's your number one indicator. Like, I want to talk to you about building a team. If you love that, you're a prime candidate for building a team. The people that aren't are the ones that do it because they want to work less. They want to retire. That's a whole other conversation. But what is it for you? What's success to you? What would that look like? This is a conversation that should be with your spouse if you have one, with your kids. Like what is that for you? And then let's design something that can get you there. And it might not be right away. There might be a period of time where, yeah, you've got to like put in the work to build. Like I had to put in the work my first year so I could hire my assistant. I guess I could have done it right out of the gate, but that would have been a total disaster. Um, you don't have models for success. So, friends, stop building from scratch. There's no badge for like most creative realtor. I don't know. Maybe there is. Adopt proven models before innovating. Right? So like I guess like for me getting into this business and then when I've been building my team, like maybe I'm lazy. But I don't have this need, like, I need to like figure it out and build like my own thing. That's never been important to me. I can't cash that. Like, that doesn't do anything for me, right? That's just me though. I don't need my name to be on the sign. I don't need it to be about me. I care like how much money I'm making for my family, and I care about how many lives I'm impacting, and am I able to do what I want to do um, long term. So I care about that more than I care about reinventing the wheel. So there's people doing what you want to do, and you just have to find them and learn from them, put the ego down and just ask for help, because there's people out there that will help you. I wouldn't be where I'm at without the people that helped me. Why do you think I'm here doing this webinar right now? It's because people poured into me, and I want to pay that forward. And I know that things come back to me. I don't need to get something back from this webinar from one of you. I don't need to be paid. I don't need you to buy anything. I know that I get things, right? There's an abundance in our life when we give, and there's people out there that will help you. And then you can go ahead and help other people. Every business needs core business models. So this is your homework, is to figure out maybe you need all of these, but where are you going to start? You need a leverage model. You need a productivity or a lead generation model. You need a profit model, and you need an operations model. So where in your business are you missing a model? And like I said, maybe it's all four. Where are you going to start? If you're going to start somewhere, I would start by knowing your profit model. So for your goal, knowing the numbers, the cost of sales, the expenses, the revenue, and then your profit that you would generate from that business. And there's models for you that you can follow. There's some outlined in Millionaire Real Estate Agents. I'm happy to help you with those if you need it. And then there's also a lead generation model. So a lot of you, when you filled out the form, what are you looking to get out of this? That I'm not going to deliver, sadly, is where to get leads. Like, you've got to have a lead generation model. And I'm happy to put that together for anyone on this call. If that's you, send me an email. I don't know where to get leads. I'll hop on a call with you and help you. But you should have a model for that you're running. It needs to be, 3 or 4 things that you do really well, so that it's a stable business. I'm doing this like a chair, right? You want to have 4 legs to your stool, at least 3 legs to your stool, so that you don't collapse in a market shift. And so have a model for your lead generation, for your leverage operations, okay? And then the last one is you're not making enough money. And I'll say, or you don't understand the money. Revenue is not profit. You've got to know your real numbers, and you should know things like how many contacts is it taking you? Like, what is a contact worth for you? Is it worth $100, $50? Many of you don't know. And this isn't to like shame or make you feel bad. It's to help you realize, like, I've got to understand this. I need to become a student of the business that I've chosen to get into if I want to have sustainable, repeatable, and predictable success in it. So knowing how many contacts it takes you to get a closing, how much are your listing appointments worth? What is your hourly rate? Right? If you're making $250 to $500 an hour, why on earth are you doing $20 an hour activities, especially, at home? You can leverage that stuff out and put more time into your business that way. Use models and actual numbers to make decisions, not emotions. I can't tell you how many times I hear, I feel like blah, 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 right? Fill in the blank. No, what does the data say? That's what you want to use to make decisions, is data. In order to have data, you have to track things, right? If you don't know these things, you could have a business that's generating an income that in your mind is successful for you. But here's the thing. You don't understand how to make it how to make it repeat. You don't understand how it's happening. Therefore, you're always on. You always have to hustle. You're always stressed out about your pipeline, and you can never actually scale because you don't know what you're scaling. You're scaling uncertainty, right? So the high performance blueprint is essentially you're defining the outcome that you're building towards. That's step one. Take a screenshot of this. You're choosing your proven models. So what am I going to be doing for lead generation? There's 2,000 different ways to lead generate. And what most of us do is we take one thing on stage from this person, one thing, from a webinar, one thing from the brokerage meeting I went to last week, one thing I saw this girl doing on Instagram or TikTok. And soon enough, you've got like this mishmash, this Frankenstein business, or as some of us in our world we call it poop soup, right? Because if you take all these ingredients and you put them in a pot, it may not turn out to be what anything you'd want to eat, right? So you've got to choose your proven models, and then you've got to install systems that enforce consistency. This is the uncomfortable part for a lot of people because we're used to hustling, right? We're used to, well, I'll just keep going, I'll just push through. But that can never scale you. You're going to be capped. You're going to be stuck. You can't ever scale and have the compound effect if you don't have systems that enforce consistency. It's like when people are investing in the stock market, right? If you're just investing consistently in the stock market, you're going to win huge long term. The people that are, like those day traders, or I don't know if you have a Robinhood account and you're buying up something and then you're trying to time the market and you're in and out of the market, you might get some wins. You might have some winning seasons. You might do well, right? But then you also have big losses, I'm sure. I don't know. I've never done that, but from what I hear. As opposed to the person that's consistently inputting, right? Tracking what matters. I had a conversation with an agent a couple weeks ago on our team, and she's, doing this new meal plan. And I said to her, you're going to have to probably track. And she was like, oh, just don't want to track it. And I feel for her because for years, that was the one thing that I refused to do was track my food. I would do anything. Like, ask me about a diet, I've done it. Like, I've done Whole30, I've done paleo, I've done plant paradox, I've done keto, I've done cabbage soup diet, wine diet. I've done every diet. Okay. But I would never track my food. I was like, no, that is the one thing I will not do. And when I finally did it, I learned some things. Yeah, I learned a lot of things actually, and my health journey completely shifted. It was the one thing I refused to do, and it changed everything. So in your business, it can feel like, well, I don't want to track everything. Ugh, that's exhausting to me. It's the one thing that will change everything. I promise you. Removing anything that distracts from the above. So unfortunately, that might mean saying no to some things, which that's going to bring up a whole other journey for some of us people pleasers on this call. You're going to have to say no to some things. You're going to have to decide, that certain clients are not for you. Maybe you're going to say no to some lender lunches, right? You're going to have to figure out what's really important and what's not, because you can't do everything. And if you try to, that's, probably how some of us ended up here. So I've got to end with this. Like, really fundamentally, some of us on this call have not actually decided how you want to build You haven't even decided what you want to build, let's be real. Because unpredictable is not like, doesn't come with the t-shirt. It's not, real estate doesn't have to feel like it's felt for you. More isn't the problem. Production isn't the problem. It's how you're doing it. It's trying to be everything for everyone. It's all the things that we talked about today. If you want to start building a real business that can give you predictable results, that relieves your anxiety, and that can actually scale eventually into something that maybe you're not doing every part of one day, that gives you that freedom to not have to be, constantly on. You have to decide, like, do I believe this is possible? I'm here to tell you that it is, but you have to believe me. You have to decide for yourself, like, am I done building in chaos and just putting up with chaos in my life? And then what am I going to do first? What's the first step I can take to eliminate that chaos? And I'll tell you, it's deciding what you want, deciding that you're not going to keep building and responding and reacting to everything, and that you're going to decide on some systems that you need to install and build in your system, in your business, to alleviate that. So, like I said, this is just the starting point. I want you to have hope that you do not have to choose between production and having a big business and having a phenomenal life. You can actually have both. I want to know from you guys, like, what do you need help with? If you're like, Jacqueline, this is all great. Like, you just described everything I'm feeling in my life, in my business, but I don't know what to do. I want to hear from you and I want to help you. It doesn't take a lot of time on my part to point you in the right direction and connect you with some resources. It takes time on your part to make this the year that you stop running around like a chicken with your head cut off, and that you're going to take this year and actually build some systems and build some structure into your life. And you know what? Um you can get that like built for you, obviously, like joining a team. You can hire a coach to help you build it out yourself. There's so many resources for this that you don't have to do it all yourself, and you don't have to figure it out. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. But if you do want to, if you want to build it yourself, I'll help you still. Like, I'll help you point you in the right direction. But we're going to go deeper on leverage for sure. That came up in your forms, on lead generation systems and models, and then on operations. And so let me know what you got out of this and where you want to go next, and I'll start scheduling these out. I've committed to doing at least one webinar per month. And I hope that you'll stay on this journey with me, and that by the end of 2026, it doesn't happen overnight. Remember, I said I tracked for an entire year and made course corrections along the way when I had clients reaching out to me with questions or concerns. So over the course of this year, together, we could end up going into 2027 with clarity. I hope. I had anxiety for years. I hope that, like, to alleviate some of that and help you go into 2027 with like a completely different business. Maybe some leverage, maybe there's some key hires that will happen this year. Maybe you've tried that before and it didn't work. I'm sure some of us have dated more than one person than the one we married, right? Hopefully, if something doesn't work one time, you don't toss it out and say it can never work. It can work. I've made bad hires too. I didn't give up. That's the difference. I learned from it, right? You go on listing appointments. You don't get the listing. You don't just, oh, I didn't get it. I'm not going to go on any other listing appointments. So there's things that we need to learn. There's skills that we need to skill up on. There's systems that we need to build or find and model. And I think if we can be committed to this together over the course of the next 12 months, we can actually make a dent and change the way that you've been operating in your business and alleviate some pain, and give you clarity and hope. And who knows, you might even start growing your own team, or if you already are, maybe you'll start developing some leaders in your own team and adding some leverage, and kind of getting out of their way. So I hope this was valuable for you, and I hope to hear from you. If you have anything that you need like immediate help with, just shoot me an email. We can hop on a Zoom or a call. And I hope I'll see you on the next webinar next month. And I'll be getting the topics out. I'll send the recording of this out as well, so you can listen to it again and go back through the slides. And I hope that you'll take this journey with me in 2026. So bye all. That's all I've got for today.